Hi everyone. So last week MTV3, their Finnish television network, they posted a list of the top 10 worst scandals in Formula One. And because I'm a big Formula One fan, of course I couldn't resist watching it. And so, well, the list isn't finished, but I've decided that I'm now going to discuss the list, show it to you also, and just tell my own opinions on the events that were listed on there. Okay, at number 10, it's Tyrrell's amazing weight-adjusting car. Back in the 1980s, if you remember, Formula Ones had turbos, and one of the teams that didn't have turbos was a team called Tyrrell. And instead, what Tyrrell did was actually break a very simple Formula One rule and race with an underweight car. Yet somehow they had built a mechanism into the car that somehow added weight to it when it got weighed after the race by the race officials. I don't, the article didn't go into much detail what this was about, but this was apparently a big scandal back in the day. Obviously not a very exciting one, and that's probably why it's number 10. And the only thing that I really have to say about this is that, Tyrrell is one of the teams that actually is now thinking of coming back to Formula One now. Okay, at number 9, it's the Senna versus Prost years of 1989 and 1990. Basically what this was about was in 1989, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna were competing for the Drivers' Championship, and Prost won the championship by crashing his car in the final race with that of Senna's, and basically ensuring by having a larger score or more drivers' points that year, that he would win. Well, Senna, of course, was a little ticked off by this, and so next year, in 1990, he did the exact same thing to Prost. In the final race, he crashes his car with that of Prost and wins the Drivers' Championship. Wow, all the glory of fair play. At number 8, it's another pretty boring one. It's funny to think that Jenson Button, who's now leading the Drivers' Championship in the Braun GP team, used to be in two really crappy teams, the Bar Honda and later just Honda. And in 2005, in San Marino, he finally gets up to the podium, and after that, it's found out that they were racing with an underweight car. This is basically the same as the Tyrrell story, basically, but the difference here is that Bar apparently made some explanations to the local race officials about having some secret fuel tank that the car needed in order to run. The race officials bought that, but the FIA didn't. All I can say is pathetic. Okay, Michael Schumacher, without a doubt the most successful driver in Formula One history, but a ruthless bastard when he needs to be. At number 7, it's Schumacher parks in the Monaco Straight. Everybody remembers this. From his final season, he tried to prevent everybody from topping his qualifying time by basically stopping his car at the Monaco Straight. This is like something you see in professional football these days, people faking that they're injured. Of course, the race officials weren't fooled, because unlike in football or soccer, people actually use video playback to call the shots. So basically, Schumacher got penalized for that. But really, that was a really childish stunt for somebody to pull at that point in their career. Number 6, Indianapolis 2005. Oh God, this was a really bad one. Okay, everybody knows the story, don't they? This was back when there were two different types of tires competing in Formula One. There was Bridgestone and there was Michelin. And what happened was, during the Indianapolis race weekend in 2005, a couple of the Michelin cars, specifically the Toyotas, were having some problems. They had big crashes at the last curve of Indianapolis. The teams with Michelin tires realized that the tires weren't safe to use, and so there was a lot of discussion, a lot of hoopla. Nothing got resolved by the race day. So what happened was that during the warm-up lap, all the Michelin cars pull into the pits and retire and the races started with only 6 cars. 6 cars. The 2 Ferraris, the 2 Jordans, and the 2 Minardis. In other words, the best and the 2 absolute worst teams of the season. This was like a big blow to Formula One back in the day. It just basically killed Formula One in the United States for everybody. And I don't remember the last time they've even raced in Indy or in the States. This season they didn't even race in Canada, but that's the thing I'm happy about. The next season they'll be racing in Canada again. At number 5, it's another Schumacher entry. In 1994, of course, Schumacher won the championship by doing something very similar. This was before he was in Ferrari. This was when he was in Benetton, whatever, that later became Renault. Basically, he won the championship by crashing his car with Damon Hill and taking the championship through points. The same as the Senna-Prost thing. And in 1997, now he's in Ferrari. Now he's trying the same trick on Jacques Villeneuve. You know what happens? He fails. He ends up outside the track, and he's forced to forced to retire from the race. Even worse, he gets disqualified from the Drivers' Championship for what he tried to pull there. Okay, at number 4, it's McLaren lying to the race officials. This is from earlier this year in Australia, the first race of the season. Really, just a really stupid thing to do, to try to lie to race officials about who passed who behind the safety car. You know, and this is, once you hear what number 2 is, you'll know why this is stupid, because this was within 2 years of the really big shit that hit McLaren back then. At number 3, Max Mosley's Nazi orgy controversy. I don't need to even say anything about this one. Okay, at number 2, now this is one of the really, really big ones. In 2007, there was this technician at Ferrari called Nigel Stepney, who was very bitter at Ferrari for not getting promoted. So at first he starts off by sabotaging Ferrari's car. Then he steals some technical plans, and he sells those to McLaren. And McLaren actually buys the plans. They get caught, and they get slapped without, I think it was a 100 million euro, I don't remember, but it was a lot of money that they got fined with. And they got disqualified from the Constructors' Championship that year. And I think just adding to the whole thing is that season, of course, was Lewis Hamilton's first season, and he was really on his way to winning his first Drivers' Championship on his first season as an F1 driver, and Kimi Räikkönen takes the championship from him by 1 point. Oh, that was just awesome. But this was a really stupid thing, and considering the Australia thing happened within 2 years of what happened when it was decided that McLaren, the decisions were made on McLaren's penalty for what they'd done. This was just a really bad thing to happen in Formula 1. Not surprisingly, the number 1 spot has been reserved to the Singapore 2008 Crashgate thing that actually has become more relevant now, because during this season, Nelson Piquet Jr. got the boot from Renault, and then he went and ratted off to the FIA, but last season, during the Singapore GP, he intentionally crashed his car to help Fernando Alonso basically win the race, and it was just an amazing, people have said that it is the biggest scandal in Formula 1 history. Probably so. So anyway, Renault gets penalized. They're like on probation or something right now, and they basically fired the other people responsible for this. Piquet didn't get any punishment because he's protected by the FIA now that he came out and told the truth. So Pat Simons, one of the race technicians, or the head technician, I'm not sure which one it was, but he got fired because he was involved in this, and Flavio Briatore, basically the head of the team, got the boot. And I gotta be perfectly honest, I'm happy to see Briatore go. I'm not gonna miss him one bit. So Nelson Piquet Jr. has basically ruined his own career, but at least he did some good, at least for me. There's a lot of discussion on this. This is still a really hot topic, and people are still disagreeing if everybody's been punished fairly, or did Renault get a big enough punishment. Whatever. You want to learn more about it, go type Crashgate or Singapore GP 2008 somewhere on Google or Wikipedia or whatever, and you can go read about it there. But anyway, that has been the list, and that has been my comments, so we'll see what I'll come up with next time.